Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video I just wanted to talk about what is, in my own opinion, the best lesbian cinema out there. Now, this video is not about my own personal favourite films, it's lesbian films that I think are the best on both a technical level and also content-wise. So it's more of an objective list than a subjective list, as possible as that is when we're talking about film. I think it's interesting to talk about lesbian cinema in terms of production, because we've certainly come a long way from the early 20th century. Lesbian filmmakers in particular have often struggled to secure the finances to see their visions realised on screen, but despite that have still created some incredible pieces of cinema over the years. So here is what I think is the best of the best. Desert Hearts is going to be the first film on my list. It is also the oldest film on this list. And after rewatching it recently, I was just blown away by the cinematography and the overall production quality of the film. Even to this day, this film very much stands out to me. Well, you can see my poster, so you can see how much I love this film. But I wasn't just surprised by how much I loved this film on a subjective level. I was really impressed with how the film encapsulates the essence of Reno, Nevada, where it's set, and the performances by the actors who gave the film such a gritty and authentic feel. Nothing about this film feels half-cut. The whole film is simply delicious, and you can tell Donna Deitch put her heart and her soul into this film, and it thoroughly paid off. I mean, she actually ended up selling her house to cover the costs of making this film. The film manages to convey a multitude of themes and messages through subtle dialogue and performance, and the chemistry between Kate and Vivian is so tender and raw, and it really adds to what is already a very well put together film. The next film on my list is Rafiki. Now, I believe this film is the first ever Kenyan film to be screened at the Cannes Film Festival. This film is largely on my list because it's an absolute delight visually. There was a lot of buzz about this film, but I wasn't prepared for just how visually stunning this piece is. From both a production and an artistic standpoint, this film really stands out to me. This film really is like a moving painting, and when I think of this film, I just think of colour and I think of expression. Actually, in an interview with the director, it was revealed that colours played an important role in the cinematography and art direction of the film. The filmmakers wanted to show that Nairobi is a very colourful city, which is why there is a lot of colour in the film. Scenes of intimacy between Kenna and Ziki are shown in more tender pastel colours, rather than the strong colour contrasts of the other scenes. So you can see the thought that has gone into the artistic backdrop of this film. It's a really refreshing piece of cinema, and it takes place in Kenya, exposing us to a culture and form of representation we don't normally see in the West. The actors' performances were wonderful, and this film is such a powerful piece of cinema content-wise, as well as being incredibly well made. Rafiki was actually banned by the Kenya Film Classification Board, and I quote, "due to its homosexual theme and clear intent to promote lesbianism in Kenya, contrary to the law," end quote. The board asked the film director to change the ending as it was too hopeful and positive, and she refused, which led to the ban of the film. So you can see just how important a piece of cinema like Rafiki is, and not only is it an important piece of cinema, but it's absolutely beautifully made. The next film on the list is The Handmaiden. The Handmaiden has made my list simply because of the attention to detail that has gone into this film and the pure artistry, you know, the cinematography, the fashion, even the film score is phenomenal in this film. In terms of lesbian film, this film really is one of the more engrossing pieces of cinema out there. It's a fantastic Korean adaptation of the novel Fingersmith. Anyway, I think this film stands out in terms of storytelling and intrigue. A lot of lesbian cinema is centered around a focus on sexuality, and this film really breaks away from that. The acting in this film is also excellent. Content-wise, the film does lose some points surrounding the intimate scenes because it quite heavily resembles a very pornographic, exaggerated performance of lesbianism, rather than two women just being intimate. However, the overall arc and ending in this film is so refreshing in terms of the two female protagonists sailing off into the sunset, rich as hell and very happy together. Whilst there is a heavy element of the male gaze throughout this film, ultimately I do count it as a good piece of lesbian cinema, and I do feel the director acknowledged the essence of Fingersmith and more or less stayed true to it. The next film on my list is Pariah. This film is very much a hidden treasure of the lesbian cinematic universe. What struck me immediately about this film was the cinematography and the gritty realism and nuanced performances that this film offered, which had me sucked in immediately. It took me a very long time to discover this film, and I think it deserves far more attention than it gets when talking about lesbian cinema. And I feel like this film is often left out of the conversation. The most impressive thing about this film is the cinematography. It's intimate, it's personal, and it sets the tone of the film for what it is. Exquisite. Content-wise, the film also expands lesbian representation beyond what we're used to, which is very much the white and the feminine. Lesbians, of course, are a very diverse group of women, so it's refreshing to see another type of lesbian representation on screen, which is what this film offers. I find this film to be a very impressive piece of work. The next film on this list is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. You probably knew that this film was going to come up at some point. Really, this film is probably the best piece of cinema that I have ever seen and probably ever will see. I can't see another film meeting the level of authenticity and intensity that this film offers. On every single level, this film is sublime. I don't know what's better about this film, the production aspects or the personal aspects. It doesn't even feel like the actors were really acting. It felt as though I was watching something incredibly personal unfold before my eyes. The chemistry between Marianne and Eloise is electric. I would say it's probably the most intense chemistry I've ever witnessed on the screen. The casting couldn't have been better. Much like Rafiki, at times I felt like I was watching a painting that had come to life. The scenery in the backdrop of this film is perfect, and the film really speaks of attention to detail. I've made another video unpacking all the themes and subtext in this film, so I won't go into too much detail about that here, but really Celine Sciamma said so much with this film without having to really say much at all. She tapped into something very sacred with this film and managed to capture the unseen on screen. This film really is the product of a woman's love through and through, and it really is the best piece of lesbian cinema that I've ever seen. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for Instant Disappointment. If you like my content and you want to support the channel, I do have a little tip jar which can be found down in the description box, also known as the Gay Peasant Tip Jar. It's vegan, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.